Good evening. Welcome. You are tuned in and watching The Extra Point. We come to you live every Friday night by NGSC Sports. Be sure to get on our website, www.ngscsports.com. Check out all the latest and greatest, including my latest article, my AFC South Week 5 preview. We talk about the NFC South here on this show, The Extra Point. We also talk some NFC South, and I haven't had an opportunity to talk to my friend GREG Barber in a while. Got to talk to him about his Saints, some devastating news this week, and they're really struggling, Greg. But before we get started, tell everybody once again who you are and where they can find you.
Well, basically, you can find GREG Barber. You can find me on at IntenseGB on Twitter. I actually just will be starting with Heavy.com as a writer there.
Oh, good.
Helping them cover the NFC South. So I'll be covering basically all 4 teams, doing a little writing and everything for them, and some in-game updates and things like that for those teams.
Well, that's awesome. Awesome. Greg is a fantastic football follow. If you're not following him on the Twitter machine, definitely be sure to do that. And the NFC South is rather interesting this year, Greg. We've talked a lot about the division on the show. It is not going down like we expected it.
Not at all. You really thought it was going to be a hot, fierce battle, where a lot of teams are just basically, out there playing well and winning games. Because you really did expect New Orleans and Carolina still to compete very heavily. Also, Atlanta still to have a stake in there as long as they were healthy. And then Tampa would, probably bring up the rear, but they would be competitive. You know what I mean?
Right.
And right now, I said on my last show that the only saving grace New Orleans has is the fact that they've only had 2. They start their bye next week after this game Sunday. That they have 6 more home games and 5 more road games. If they can win all 6 of their all 6 of their home games, plus this one in Tampa, which would put them at 8-0. If they can pull out, I think if they can pull out 2 road games this year, I think they can actually win the division.
The division is, it's rather curious. Tampa Bay has looked like they looked terrible. They got shellacked on Thursday Night Football by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and then came back to win.
Against Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh just screwed that up. That was as simple as that. Pittsburgh screwed that game up. I watched that whole game, and Pittsburgh should not have lost that game, but it happens. Every team in the league drop a game they should not be dropping.
Absolutely. But you know what? You got to give it up to Tampa Bay for their fortitude.
Oh, absolutely.
For not rolling over. Lovie Smith has held that team together. You knew that it was going to require some outstanding football play and a little bit of luck for them to come up in the division, and they just didn't have it. Josh McCown, you were not a believer, Greg. I'm going to give it up to you for calling that all off season. I was like, I don't know. I think he's going to be okay, but he was not okay.
No, that was brutal. It was brutal. Well, because I knew that was all Trestman there. I mean, if anybody who knew Mark Trestman and knew what he's done with some of the quarterbacks, because I can remember Rich Gannon before Mark Trestman, and Gannon was closer to McGowan now than what he was when he ended up his career with the Raiders. Trestman is one heck of a quarterback coach. He can make quarterback look really, really good, and he did that with McGowan. And basically, just the old saying, put a lipstick on a pig. That's exactly what the heck happened there, and Tampa bought it. So, I'm not disparaging the guy. I mean, he's not a number 1 quarterback.
Well, Tampa too is not Chicago, and Chicago, it's hard not to have a good offense when you've got the talent that Chicago has, with Alshon Jeffrey, Brandon Marshall, and Martellus Bennett, who's having a fantastic season so far this year.
Right, and they're trying to duplicate that in Tampa and with all the big receivers everything like that. But the problem is you got Mike Evans now who's who's injured. You
Mm-hmm.
know, so he's out for a little bit. Safarian Jenkins is kind of he's playing okay. You know, he's making play here and there.
And he
And
started out injured too.
yeah. And then I mean Vincent Jackson.
He's just disappeared.
Vincent Jackson is not only on the decline. I think he's fell off the cliff personally.
Oh yeah.
I think he's off the cliff because I've
How
seen
old
him.
is he now?
Huh?
How old is Vincent Jackson now?
I don't. He's in his 30s now, isn't he? Because he has to be.
I'll look it up real quick.
Yeah. Because he's got to be like I would think at least 31, 32. But the only reason I'm saying that I think that he fell off the cliff because I've seen a couple games where he had balls right dead in his chest.
Yeah.
Hands, and he dropped them. He did it in the Atlanta game, which I think cost him a first down. He even did it in the Pittsburgh game. It was a shot that they threw to him to win to catch the winning touchdown because he blew like one or two passes earlier in that game. I would have never even looked at him if it was if I was a quarterback. I would have never looked at him for that final touchdown, but they did, and he caught it. You know, so but for the most part, you know what I'm seeing out of him, I don't see that same dominating receiver that you saw a couple years ago. And,
he's 31, by the way. He's 31 years old. But still, for a wide receiver, that's not... He's pulled disappearing acts before.
Yeah, agreed. He has. But, I mean, not this big of a disappearing act. Yeah. You know, this is getting bigger. So, I mean, and I'll say the same for our supposed number one receiver, Marcus Colston. Yeah. You know, that he's on the decline, and he's the same. Those are the two receivers that are glaring to me right now in the NFC South, who are pretty prominent, who deserve their props, and who really good guys and stuff. But they both are heavily on the decline. I mean, if they haven't fell off the cliff, they pretty close. They are pretty close. So I mean, you know, that was a big issue with me when I know because Sunday I just finally it hit me. Finally Sunday it hit me that Colston is definitely not only on the decline. I think he's like at this point in time they need to start replacing him as the number one receiver in New Orleans. You know, and I'm thinking that the same things need to happen in Tampa with Vincent Jackson. That they may have to start grooming Mike Evans to that position. I know it's going to take them a year. I mean, you know, they probably won't really start making him a main receiver till next year, but they need to start, you know, heavily.
You know, they may not have any choice right now. They may just have to go ahead and when Mike Evans comes back and rely on him because you know they're having difficulty getting something going and
Agreed.
Well, let's talk a little bit about your Saints, and then we'll talk some more NFC South, and hopefully we'll get Brad in here in a little bit, and we'll be able to turn to the AFC South. But the New Orleans Saints, I would have bet money that they would be leading the division right now. They're in the basement of the division, right up in front of the Buccaneers. What is going on with your Saints, Greg?
Yeah, well, the glass half full part. They're only one game out of the division lead, for heaven's sakes.
Well,
I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, bottom line, they're a bad football team at this point in time.
The defense has shocked me how poorly they've played.
Yes. Agreed.
And now they've lost. You know, they were already struggling in their secondary, and now they've lost Jarius Byrd. Not that he's been terribly healthy or wildly effective anyway.
No, he hasn't. Raphael Bush will take his spot, and Kenny Vaccaro stay where he is. And they still got a couple other safeties in there that can still, if they wanted to play the three safety defense, they can do that because you still have Marcus Ball, who basically he probably played a lot more special teams. Ball is a hitter and I think a really good player.
Do you think they regret letting Roman Harper go?
No. Nope.
Okay.
I mean,
he's
a lot
not
of people
playing terribly for the Panthers.
Well, don't get me wrong. Harper's a decent player. He's good as far as the closer to the line of scrimmage he is, the better he is.
He's better in the box.
Yeah, he's great. He's great at stopping the run. I've never argued this. He's great at stopping the run. He's good if you want as a pass rusher coming in for blitzes, safety blitzes, and getting after the quarterback. No doubt, he's probably one of the best in the league at that. One of the better ones. if you try to get him to cover anybody or anything, he
Not his
cannot
forte.
do it. He cannot do it. He got a little better in the last couple years, but he still gave up a lot of plays.
Mm-hmm.
So, as far as I'm concerned, I don't think that's the issue because you think about it. Vaccaro came in, and Vaccaro was a lot better cover man and a lot better well-rounded, and he could play both safety positions too.
Yeah, that's what I started to say. I mean, if you had Harper, you could play him in the box, and I mean, you could play 3 safety packages and kind of help out some of your other guys who are struggling. Put Kenny Vaccaro as a roamer, and you still have Raphael Bush back there to have some over-the-top support.
Right. Yeah.
But you see what I'm saying?
Oh, I totally see. Yeah, because I mean myself, I'm kind of in agreement with you there. But what I like, the thing about it is the fact that they got Vinny Sunseri, a rookie, but he's still pretty smart, very smart player. And I mean, if anybody saw him play at Alabama, they know the dude. He got it up here.
He's got the bloodlines.
He's got the bloodlines. He can play, and he showed that. And even during preseason, he showed up. He played some big games. And also, like I said, Marcus Ball, the kid from the CFL. Mm-hmm. I like them both, so that's why like losing Bird, I wasn't gonna. I was like, well, it ain't the end of the season because I think we got 2 other guys who can come in and who are really no slouches and can do something. So I'm not too worried. I'm not as worried there, because. So
what do you think the problem is with the defense?
Some people think it's the lack of fire and passion because, like, the defensive line, it's practically the same guys. And especially, I am surprised that Cam Jordan and Junior Gillette, Junior just got signed to a contract, and they both got probably like a sack each this year, and they should have a lot more than this. Or at least
I agree.
Yeah, they should have a lot more than this. I mean, I would think even if they got a sack a game at this point, they should have, in short games, they should have like 3 or 4 sacks in the games. So, or at least make some significant plays, whether it's in the run or whatever. And you're just not seeing that. And the same thing with even up the middle there with we got with Diedrich, and we also have Broderick Bunkley. Which Bunkley, I was shocked that he stayed on the team. I thought. I kind of thought they may move.
That's quite a few safeties for them to carry.
Who?
Are you talking about the Saints?
Yep. Yeah, they have what, five safeties? 5 safeties with if you include a Bird.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have 5 safeties there. But
in hindsight, it's a good thing that they did that.
Well, they knew they couldn't lose these guys. That was the problem because Sunseri and Ball played so well. It was stupid to cut them. Number 2, the fact that they did use the 3 safety defense. To me, I was an advocate that they should keep both of those guys because I knew an injury was coming up. I was like, somebody's going to get hurt. I just know it's going to happen, and it worked out. It works out. It does. It gets hurt pretty quickly. So you're going to end up needing these guys, and somebody else is going to pick up Ball or Sunseri if you cut either one. So it made sense to do that, and then they kept only 5 corners on the team. So in the end, they helped themselves by doing that. So it worked out for them. But I tell you, it's like I don't know. This is it's going to be a tough season. I mean, part of it is I don't know if it was I don't know if it was Rob Ryan with the scheme or something like that. I don't know.
Well, he worked wonders last year now, and it's just curious to me.
Yeah, it is. It's very curious, I think, to a lot of people because a lot of people, like I said, some people talking about the passion and the fire. I don't think that's the issue. I mean, sometimes I worried that they read a lot of the press clippings because a lot of people were, all of ESPN, most of ESPN, most of those guys had Saints pegged in the Super Bowl or pretty close.
Yeah.
And just like I kept looking at that. That's the KOD there. I was like, oh, they don't do that because I know like this is gonna get ugly, and it did. So far it has, but now that everybody kind of off that bandwagon, now they kind of can, and they're not so far out of the race. They actually, they have a shot here, but I would like to see them. I would like to see them start. I just like to see a little more. I don't know. A little more blitzing. I don't care. If they have to kind of throw the kitchen sink at some people, do it. I thought with Tony Romo, they made some mistakes there because Romo had a lot of time in that pass rush, but every time that they would send an extra blitzer in, Romo would throw the ball away or throw it in the dirt. He would not he wouldn't stand in there and try to and make the throw. So to me, it seemed like I thought like I'm seeing this every time I saw this. I'm thinking why not blitz more? Why not send more people? Even at the risk of getting burned here and there, at least you're giving it a shot. You got to try something because
you got to get the offense back on its toes, right?
Yeah,
When they're
now with the offense,
no, I mean, you've got to use your defense to get the opposing offense on its toes, and
exactly. Keep them on its toes, right?
They're settling into too big of rhythms against your defense, and they're able to sustain drive, and they're not being disruptive at all. I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Not even. The philosophy is to get for the defensive line to rush them to get the main rush from the line. And then they can drop the other, the linebackers and the receivers back, have 7, 8 guys back, so they give the quarterback a harder time. But I'm thinking that they may have to start sending in, maybe they rush instead of rushing 3 or 4, come in rush 5, maybe get a couple other guys coming in there, a safety coming in or something like that, and just anything that it would take that to make the quarterback have to look. Be looking and just kind of keep them off balance as much as they possibly can. Because if they can get that rush going, maybe then they can probably back off every once in a while because get them a little jittery. But they just gotta gotta try some stuff. They gotta really, and I don't think I don't see enough adjustments, and it's both on the offensive end and the defensive end. I don't see enough adjustments. I see them. I think they bang their head against the wall more than they are making adjustments to get around the wall.
Yeah, Drew Brees is still Drew Brees. They're throwing the ball a lot. The run game is okay. I wouldn't say it's anything to write home about.
Actually, it was ranked number 6 in the league. Before the Dallas game, it was ranked number 6 in the league. I mean, they were running like 140, 150 yards a game.
Okay, it's ranked 10th now.
It's ranked 10th now, right? Because they dropped off so much because of the Dallas game, because they got behind and they had to kind of abandon the running game. They were before that Dallas game. They were like 6th in the league. They're in 4th, I think 4th in passing. So
they're 3rd in passing right now, 10th in rushing, and then on the other side of the ball, 28th against the pass and 21st against the run.
Yeah. So I mean, and part of that was because they were trying to play 8-man in the box to stop DeMarco Murray against Dallas. In Dallas. And they were
DeMarco Murray's having a fantastic season.
I can't even argue with that. He definitely is. And then, I mean, I definitely wouldn't. He's actually playing very well. I think the whole key is that as long as he can stay healthy, because he definitely has an injury history over there in Dallas. That if he can stay healthy, I think he'll have a heck of a season. You might see a 2,000-yard season out of this guy. So you might. It's very, very possible.
Yeah, you're right. As long as he does stay healthy, because he does have a history there. So
he does have an injury history. Yeah. Because as you know, I do follow the Cowboys pretty heavily too, so I know them pretty well. Also,
if if the Saints defense was at least average, I was searching for a good word. Average. Don't you think the offense would be sufficient?
Oh, absolutely. At 15, if that defense played middle of the road, 15th, 16th in the league, if they were at least that, that's all they really need to be for that offense. If they're middle of the road, if they can even get to that level, where they actually probably right about now would be, instead of 1-3, at worst 2-2, and probably closer to 3-1. Because they would stop a lot more third down, a lot more third down attempts, and because they're terrible at third and 3 this year. Any 3rd and 3 or less this year, they're 0-15.
No, that's terrible.
They can't win a 3rd and short for nothing.
That's awful.
Yes, they can't win a 3rd and short to save their lives. I mean, don't bet your house that they're gonna stop a 3rd and short, or you will lose your house.
Wow, that's an amazing stat. It definitely is.
Yeah, I happened to catch that stat. I was reading through, and Larry Holder from NOLA.com had come up with that. Somebody was asking him about that, about the 3rd and short, and he just happened to say anything from from 3 yards and less on 3rd down, they're 0-15 on it. So that's like ridiculously, that's like crazy that that even happens. So You know that, like I said, if think about it, just those third and shorts, if they stopped half of those, just half of those, we're probably we're talking a different story, probably talking about leading the division instead of how bad we are right now.
Right. Let's talk a little bit about the division. And you mentioned this.
Yeah.
The Falcons, the Atlanta Falcons
Yeah.
are on top right now. The Carolina Panthers are just right behind them,
Yes.
just because of the way they stack up. And then the Saints, you're right, are just one game out, and then the Bucks. But the Falcons and the Panthers really have just kind of taken advantage. And so far, I don't think that either one of those teams has really shown that they can step up and take that division. Do you?
No, because they're actually, in all reality, they're no better than New Orleans right now. All three teams have trouble with their defenses.
Mm-hmm.
None of them can stop the run. They're having a tough time stopping the pass. I mean, you saw what Minnesota did to Atlanta.
Yeah.
Now, New Orleans can at least.
But then we saw Minnesota get decimated last night.
Yeah, right. I know. They get blown away. So Atlanta got to be sitting there like, we got to be some kind of bad. If I'm Atlanta, I'm dying on that one. That Green Bay can go in there and trash them, and then you can't.
Yeah.
You let them score 41 on you. So.
I think they should do away with Thursday night football. I think it's a terrible idea to begin with, and all of the games have been blowouts.
Yeah, this year right here, I think I'm gonna change the opinion of a lot of people. I think a lot of people wanted Thursday night football at first, because it wasn't
more
like that.
Football. I understand that.
Yeah, it wasn't like that last year, and it wasn't like that. I don't think the year before where you had game. But this year it's been glaring. I mean, it's like we're talking college football scores.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like it's like Florida State versus Children of the Poor, or something, some directional school.
Yeah.
And it just, like, every team get beat. So I don't know exactly why. I mean, and some people think it's because some of the players are because of the short week. Some players are tired, and that's actually probably part of it.
Mm-hmm.
And you got to change your game plan. You think about it. You come off a Sunday, and if you got a Thursday game, then you ain't got much time to prepare.
You don't. And let's face it, no team comes out of a Sunday game healthy.
Oh, God,
Guys
no.
Guys get dinged up, and their bodies get sore, and they really need a longer recovery process than the Thursday night game allows.
Yeah, I mean, it may be a good idea. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm all for them cutting the Thursday night game. I'm okay with that. I'm not gonna break down and cry about it if they don't have it. I mean, to me, I think Sunday and Monday is fine. I think, and that'll kind of take things away. And I think for Thursday also, because like I said, between travel time and just letting players heal and things like that, I think it makes sense. I think it does make sense. So I don't know. We'll see if it happens. But I mean, the money that they're probably making, they're probably not going to let that go. The players just going to have to deal with it. That's probably what's going to end up happening in all reality.
Well, we'll see. The DeMaurice Smith he's got a challenger, and I was reading some tweets today. You always, I mean, you're getting fed information by both sides, and you have to recognize that.
Yeah.
But it remains to be seen whether it's a serious challenge or not. But it does sound like the players understand that the CBA wasn't in their best interest, and that they probably shouldn't have signed it, and so we'll see.
Well, that was a lot of it because the NFL starved them out a little bit, and then it was just kind of put them in desperation. There was only one team, believe it or not, that turned down the CBA that didn't want it, and that was the Pittsburgh Steelers. Ryan Grant. Yep, the Steelers were the only team, because they just didn't like the deal. And
we should have told you something, because Art Rooney, the Steelers are longtime allies.
Absolutely.
Of the National Football League. That should have been a glaring thing for people, but I don't know that people pay attention.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, I knew because I read the CBA when it came out, and I knew that the players got killed on that, But at the same time, I mean, like I said, with this whole Thursday night football, I don't know. I mean, are they gonna allow them to? Are they going to really go ahead and get rid of that? especially like I said, the fact that they can sell that TV package maybe to CBS. I know the way they got half the season this year, so they may be trying to work on to get it for a full season. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either. Definitely a situation that you want to keep an eye on.
Without a doubt.
And I just think that if the NFL legitimately cares about safety, and if it legitimately cares about these players' bodies and their minds and their future and the future of their health,
Agreed.
then they will recognize that Thursday night football is not in their best interest, and they will do away with it. Let's talk real quick about the Falcons, and then we'll do a little bit of a preview of what the Saints are going to be looking at.
Okay.
This couple of games. With the Falcons,
Mm-hmm.
their offensive line was so injured that they were forced to play their second-year tight end, Levine Tololo, at right tackle.
Yeah,
That has to a team with that kind of depth issues and injury issues is not going to make the playoffs, in my opinion.
I'm with you because I sat there. I've watched football for over 30-some years. I'm 45 going on 46 for God's sakes, and I've been watching since I was like 9. I have never ever seen a tight end have to come in for.
I know that was crazy, man.
And I sat there and I'm watching them like I racked my brain for. I'm trying to go back in the 70s. I'm like I've never ever seen that. Usually, another offensive lineman would come in, but that was just I'd never seen a tight end. And for the most part, he kind of held his own a little bit. But I thought right then and there Minnesota could have done some things. I thought like even put an overload blitz on his side because he's not going to think the same way a right tackle would think. When he played that position, he's not going to block. His blocking may be a little different. So they may be able to find some weaknesses there that they can get to Ryan. But then for the most part, it still worked out for Minnesota. But yeah, that was amazing to see. When I saw that game and I'm watching it, I'm like. That was amazing.
And then they had to prop him. They had to keep a tight end over there with him, poor guy, to help him. I thought under the circumstances, I don't think that he did a bad job at all.
No, he did. Not as bad. No, not as bad as you would think. I thought
exactly.
I thought he was going to get killed by the DN there.
Yeah.
But he just didn't. So he held up. So I will give him his props on that. But like you said, with those type of depth issues, you think about it, the fact that they got to go through another 12 games.
Yep.
You can't guarantee that whole line is going to stay healthy again. So, God forbid if Jake Matthews go down. Because if Jake Matthews go down for the year.
He's already missed a game, but he's back. And so, yeah. Jake Matthews is having a fantastic season. We talked about him on the show before. Another guy with the bloodlines, and that was an excellent pick by them. Their defense, the Falcons' defense, you mentioned it, suspect. Just like everybody, the whole NFC South has suspect defenses.
Everybody, because in Carolina, like New Orleans is having a tough time with the run, but I'm saying that Carolina Pittsburgh game, they got manhandled in that one. In that run game, they just got manhandled. And then they played against, they basically got manhandled against Steve Smith and the Ravens as well.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, I don't know if you've seen our show yet, Southbound and Down, that I do with Scott Karasik and Joe Rolano and all. And,
I have not had a chance to check it out. I definitely need to, though.
Yeah, so we did our show last Wednesday. Called it the Loser's Circle. Because it was called the Loser's Circle. Because,
some of my favorite guys in the world. I've got to check it out.
Yeah, so we had a, so basically it was sort of a pity party, so everybody kind of could get their hands out, and what they had to say, So we were having our man moment, and it wasn't a good man moment either on that one. So, but for the most part, we all recognize that our defenses are crap right about now, and we all recognize that our offenses are not up to par to what they should be. Kind of like I said, with New Orleans, it's stalling a little bit there. I've never seen this span where they had 3 games where I think they scored, 24, 20, and then 17 against Dallas the last 3 games. They're generally, they're usually can get up into the 30s. And
well, I just wrote in my AFC South preview, you really got to give it up to Rod Marinelli.
Oh,
for what
without
he
a
has
doubt. Oh
done
yeah,
with
and I
that
did,
Dallas defense.
and I totally did. Without a doubt, I said, don't get me wrong, Rod Marinelli has done a fantastic job
He
with
really
that
has.
because everybody and his mother predicted that the defense was going to be terrible.
I thought they were going to
Including
suck this year. They're
Yeah,
three
oh,
and
I thought they were
one.
going to be absolutely horrid, especially when Sean Lee went down, and I was like, oh man. But I had to give it to him because I thought the Rolando McClain deal. I was like, I don't get me wrong, I
Well,
like
that
Rolando
reeked of
McClain.
desperation.
Yeah, yeah, without a doubt, because I thought I like Rolando McClain as a player, but I was like,
Sure, right?
especially when you got a guy who retired a couple times like that, I was like, is his head in it? That's what I was worried about.
Sure. Yeah,
But
I mean, you've got to wonder
yeah,
that.
and that's where I was worried about because the fact I think they gave a draft pick away. I think a 6th-round pick for the guy or something like that to the Ravens
To get his
for his
rights.
right. Yeah, and it's actually turned out very very well. So I mean,
It
him
really
and
has.
Justin Durant, I no complaints at all. I mean, for the most part, he's held them together and they're doing very well. I mean, they're doing very well on offense, especially as long as they keep the ball running. As long as they're running the ball, it keeps Romo out of being Romo. With the no
Right.
untimely picks or anything like that.
Nobody can Romo like Romo.
Yeah, without a doubt, without a doubt. But like you said, look back to Atlanta. You know, I'm not because at this point in time I'm not predict no team can make the playoffs at this point in time.
Hmm.
If any team, if one of those teams just get hot, if one gets
Yeah.
hot, they can take that division. But I got a feeling it's only going to be one team out of that division, too, because of the fact that the NFC East, you got Dallas, you got
Hmm.
Philadelphia basically competing there.
Yeah.
In the West, you're going to still have Seattle, San Francisco, and then in that division plus Arizona as well, because Arizona's making a heck of a run out there in that division. And then you got to look at the NFC North, the fact that you got Green Bay, Detroit, and Chicago all pretty much in a three-way fight there. And you can't even argue with that Minnesota. Who knows? Could turn around. I mean,
Still early. Still a lot
yeah,
of football left to
yeah.
play. Greg, I was thinking it is entirely possible that 8-8 or 9-7 could take the NFC South this year.
Exactly, and that's like I said, that's the saving grace that probably the Saints have at this point is the fact that they got more home games after their bye week than road games. If they can at least if anything, stay undefeated at home, and if they could, the last 2 years they were 3-5 on the road. If they even duplicate that record and go 3-5, they're rock stars. They're pretty much 11-5, and they look like rock stars in their hand. Maybe not home field advantage, but maybe they get a home game. You know what I'm saying? Because
Hmm.
it depends on how these divisions stack up at this point, how they end up. So we don't know. But I mean, the likelihood they're going to play wild. They're going to be a wild card, if anything.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, but like I said, 97, yes. I mean, but I'm still looking at that the way it's going. They could go 97. They could go 97. Because like I said, I think if they win at least one on the road, one. Give me that. But if they can win two on the road, I think they're pretty much in good shape. Because
The Saints play the Tampa Bay Buccaneers this week,
yes,
and then I'm looking for. Do they go on a bye after that?
they're going to buy after that. Yeah,
Yeah.
the bye, and I
Okay.
think it's
So
Green.
they've got one game before their bye.
Yeah, yeah, and believe it or not, that bye has actually come at the right time.
Yeah.
Well, for them, I think it came at the right time because of the fact that they're kind of reeling now from this, and they end up 2-3. They get a
Right.
week off, and they get a chance to adjust things with what's happening with Bird, heal up a couple of guys, get them ready to go.
They
And
should beat the Buccaneers, but I think that it's going to be a closer game than some people think.
oh, me too, because I did not think that it was going to be a blowout. I think I don't did I predict? I can't remember what the score predicted. I think it was like 34-31 at that.
Okay.
No, actually, I'm
That's
sorry.
one game.
That was the Atlanta Giants game. The Saints game, I don't think I predicted a score, but
Hmm.
because I know that the Bucks play, the Saints always play them tough. God knows I've seen enough of those games that I, in no way, shape, or form, think that that come in there think Tampa's going to lay down and get blown out.
Right.
It's not going to happen. Because they still got. I mean, McCoy's back. So that's a big one. I mean,
Yeah.
Atlanta didn't have that problem because McCoy wasn't in that game, and they just
And Mike Johnson's been dinged up, but he's playing through it. It sounds like he's getting a little healthier.
yeah, Yeah. So I mean, it's gonna be a tough game, especially
Hmm.
the fact that with the way the offense is playing, because the offense is not clicking to their normal paces.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a hard game for them. So I
Yeah. Let's turn a little bit to the AFC South. Brad must have
absolutely
gotten, yeah,
sure.
Brad must have gotten held up.
Okay.
So I'd like to talk to you about the AFC South because I know that you watch a lot of football and you pay
Yes.
attention, and
Hmm.
it's good. Excuse me. Got something caught in my throat. It's good, I think, to get an outsider's view looking
Hmm.
in from the
Hmm.
division. 4 games in, the Houston Texans are 3-1.
Hmm.
Ryan Fitzpatrick has fit in very well with their system. He's playing
Hmm.
good. Good Ryan Fitzpatrick has shown up for the most part. Their
Good
defense
now.
is pretty good. It's not the best in the league, but J.J.
No.
Watt is J.J. Watt. The
Yes.
Colts right behind them at 2-2, and then the
Yes.
Titans 1-3, and the Jags 0-4. One of
Mm.
the worst divisions in football. I don't think that there's any question about that. I thought that the division might be better this year, but
Hmm.
so far it has proven that, if anything, it's worse.
Well, I mean,
I'll say that. I say that
there's,
because
there's,
I don't think
there's a
the
lot of.
Colts. I say that because I don't think the Colts are as good this year as they were last
Oh,
year.
great, yeah, and I was gonna say basically there's a lot of iffy teams there too. You know what I mean? That still I think they're all on a house of cards to a point. You know,
Yeah.
and basically when I say like one injury or you get a couple players who are not playing very well, i.e. if it's Ryan Fitzpatrick, if he kind
Hmm.
of goes back to where he played in the past,
Turning the ball over a
become,
lot.
yeah, become a turnover machine or
Hmm.
whatever. If those things happen, then Houston can hit the mat really quick. That they won't
Yeah.
be the same team. The Colts. I mean, I think a couple of injuries to them, a couple of key injuries. They could be done.
Yeah.
Pretty
They're
quickly.
already injured.
Yeah,
Losing Robert Mathis. I was trying to combine those two.
yeah,
Losing
that's true.
Robert Mathis
That's
was
true.
was huge. I mean, they were already going to be without him, and then
For
obviously he
4 games,
suffered the
right?
season-ending injury. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, and their left tackle, Jack Mewhort, I believe is his name.
Yep.
He's
Mm-hmm.
he's out this week. They're going to be without. They get Jarrell Freeman back, who is one of their best defensive players. Certainly one of their better, or
Mm-hmm.
maybe the best defensive player they have right now with Robert Mathis out. They lost LaRon Landry
Yeah, for
to,
the year, right? For the
yeah,
year, or yep.
for 4 games. 4 games. He
Oh, that's
violated
right. That's right.
the,
That's right. I forgot. That's right. Was it the drug suspension, right?
yeah,
Okay, that's what it was.
performance enhancing.
That performance enhancing.
Yeah. Yeah. There are all kinds of jokes there that we are not going to make, by the way.
Well, let me tell you, that dude jacked up. That's if
He's
there was
Jack,
oh,
baby.
he was
Now,
a
he
hawk.
is Jack. Come on. Everybody knew he was juicing, right?
Oh, he had. I mean, juicing. I mean, juicing is putting it lightly.
Yeah, right? But you know what I mean.
Yeah, thought he
Yeah.
had surgical rocks up in there.
I mean, my goodness. Okay. We're not going to pick on the Colts too much because
I'm not
they're,
kidding. I'm just saying
yeah,
that dude. Yeah.
yeah. So, the the Colts are going to. They've got a tough game this weekend. They're going to face the Baltimore Ravens. I don't think that they can win that game.
That's a hard call, and that one's on the Colts are at home too, right?
Hmm.
So a little home cooking might help them in that one. But I mean, the Ravens are actually on a little bit of a roll. They're playing very well right now, and
They
I mean,
are.
they're playing very well, a lot better, I think, than a lot of people thought. You
I
know, but,
wrote in my recap that you really have to give it up to John Harbaugh for keeping that team together, keeping them
mhm.
focused. They're playing
Yep.
extremely well through all of the Ray Rice drama.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, they're like the only team you couldn't visibly see affected by it. Because even Minnesota was affected for a little bit there for a couple games.
Yeah,
You know,
Adrian. Hmm.
with Adrian gone. I mean, but
Hmm.
with him, you didn't even. It didn't look like it because they came right back after that Pittsburgh game after all that
Well,
drama.
let's face it, Adrian Peterson is a better running back than Ray Rice. Ray
Yeah,
Rice was
yeah,
at the end of his career,
he was.
and the guys that are playing in Ray Rice's place are probably better at this stage
Stage,
than Ray
yeah.
Rice is.
True. Agreed. I can agree with you there because yeah, but still I'm just thinking just the drama and everything, just
Right.
hearing it still can sometimes mess with you a little bit.
Hmm.
But I mean, yeah, Harbaugh's done a very good job weathering that storm and getting that team through it, and they're playing pretty good ball. Now don't get me wrong, I don't think just because the Colts have home field advantage, they're going to win it. But I mean, I think it helps them at least if anything stay in the game.
They play very well at Lucas Oil.
They do, and like I said, yeah, it helped them. But I mean, the Ravens are kind of on a little bit of a hot streak in a roll. This right here could be, but I mean, so are the Colts too. But the Colts were on.
Yeah, the Ravens are injured too. They looks like they're going to be without Chris Canty. Terrell Suggs is questionable,
Yeah.
and there's some other names, and their secondary's really been struggling. So, look, I picked the Ravens to win that one, but I think that. I definitely think that the Colts will give them a game. Anytime Andrew Luck is under center, you have to know that he can lead them to to a victory. The Houston Texans, I would say the surprise in the division because they are 3-1. They are playing the Governor's Cup, which is the game. It goes back to the Houston Oilers days when the in-state rivalry between the Oilers and the Cowboys. They're playing at Everbank Field in Arlington, Texas. I picked the Cowboys to win that game. I think that the Cowboys, they're two incredibly close football teams, amazingly, because we already talked about how everybody expected the Dallas Cowboys to suck, but they've actually been extremely good this year. Who do you think is going to win that one?
I'm with you, the Cowboys. I think Cowboys on the roll. I think they're pretty focused. They're playing very, very well, and I think they're in a groove. They're in a definite groove. And I mean, don't get me wrong, J.J. Watt. If they can even neutralize him a little bit, in that game, they'll be fine. Because it's not like you have Davian Clowney there, on the other side or anything like that to help. So I think
the thing that I noticed about the Cowboys when they played the Titans.
Yeah.
Of course, Jason Witten is always going to be a threat to catch the ball and hurt you in the. But they had Jason Witten blocking a lot and really helping protect Tony Romo. He's so quietly good at that. Yeah. They've done an excellent job of using their tight ends and their running backs as well to block for Tony Romo to keep him healthy. Keeping Tony Romo healthy is going to be the key to their season.
Yeah, it is. I mean, keeping them healthy, but like I said, also if they can, as long as they can keep that run game going well, as long as they can run the ball and run it like they've been running it, then they're going to be super dangerous. Because I mean, they got a pretty good receiving core. People don't, I mean, with Dez, Terrence Williams, Cole Beasley is a little underrated there. You got.
I think so too. I've talked about that. I definitely think Cole Beasley is underrated.
He's definitely underrated. He probably don't get the ball nearly as much as he should, in my opinion. What I mean?
Well, when you got Dez Bryant, you got to. I mean, it's hard not to use him, right? Yeah.
But I think he's going to be a nice little outlet receiver, or at least.
I agree with you.
Like for short passes and things like that. So I like Cole Beasley myself. I think I like the kid a lot. I think, they don't. And don't get me wrong, like you said, with Williams and with Dez there, you don't have to use them as much.
In a receiver needy system, what kind of stat line do you think Cole Beasley could put up?
Oh man, I don't know. See, because I think he could be one of those little workhorse receivers that you can throw to several times. I mean, I look at him like I guess a lot of people would look at him like a Wes Welker or a Damian Amendola type guy.
Put him like, because the Panthers don't really have that kind of guy. Put him in the Panthers offense, or
he'll be used a lot. He'll be used a lot.
Or maybe even Tampa Bay. They don't have that little small shifty guy that can do that either. You put that guy in one of those offenses that doesn't have a Cole Beasley, and I think that he could put up, maybe like a 50, 55, 650, 700 season.
Yeah, easily. I think he'll do that easily. He probably could even exceed that, depending on what how they're running and what they're.
Yeah, right. I agree. I'm just saying that would be the floor that I would expect.
That's the floor. Yeah, 50 is the floor for him. Because I mean, he's got pretty good hands. I don't see the guy drop anything. Yeah. I can't remember him ever dropping a pass hardly. You know, and there's very few receivers I ever can say that. I can think of one receiver, one maybe two receivers I can say that I've never ever seen. I don't know what it's like to ever see them drop a pass, and you know he's kind of one of those guys.
Well, Larry Fitzgerald doesn't drop many passes.
He doesn't, but sometimes he doesn't get thrown to enough either.
He doesn't either. That's true. Poor Larry Fitzgerald. Free Larry.
Yeah. His quarterbacks don't throw to him enough either.
The Jacksonville Jaguars 0-4. They have finally turned to Blake Bortles.
Yeah.
The team improved when they put Blake Bortles in, but they're so thin on talent that even though it helped the team, they're still not winning. Right. They face a 2-2 Pittsburgh Steelers team. I think this could be a trap game for the Steelers.
I agree. I think Jacksonville is going to, now that Bortles is there, and he's going to be there pretty much full time now, he's going to be the guy.
Yeah.
The team now, I think the team will be a lot more confident, much like how Minnesota is with Bridgewater. They played a heck of a lot different with Bridgewater. You know, they played like they actually wanted to play the ball compared to what they played with Castle or Ponder. And, you know, and I think the same thing is going to happen with Bortles. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that they're going to beat a lot of teams, but what's going to happen is those games are going to be a lot more competitive.
Yeah.
And if you can get a good quarterback play out of him, as long as you can get good, decent quarterback play, they'll stay in games. They won't get blown out or get beat the heck out of.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think that it's going to improve. I wrote 2 weeks ago when it was going to be Bortles' time, but going into this last game, that I thought that it would improve the defense because the poor defense has just been on the field so much. You know, I mean, the numbers are sad when you look at the difference between their defense is giving up versus the Steelers, and the Steelers' defense isn't a world beater by any means.
Right.
And on offense as well. I think that they will be a much better football team. They're going to get a little bit healthier, you know, at some point. Mercedes Lewis will come back at some point. Losing him, I think, was a big blow. Cecil Shorts, injured and ineffective, hasn't really done anything. So, you know, they're so thin already on talent, and having these injuries doesn't help them.
Oh no, go ahead. And I was gonna say because wasn't during the off-season camp they had like 7 receivers injured or something like that. They had like a ton of guys. I mean, like it was a whole match just on the receivers.
Yeah, they've had some bad luck. They've had some bad luck.
So that told you, like, going into the year, I was like, ooh, that's not a good sign coming into the year. You know what I'm saying? Because, I mean, chemistry-wise and everything. You know, so you got guys like Allen Hurd and was it Robinson?
Allen Robinson.
Yeah, Allen Robinson, and then you got the other one there from USC, the kid from USC.
Marcus Lee.
Yes, Marquise Lee. Yep, Marquise Lee. Who's a good receiver. I mean, like I think all 3 guys are solid receivers, but if they're not on the field, they can't get that chemistry going with Bortles. You know, and I think that comes as a year. But as long as they can get out there and play, that's when you'll see the improvements, the real improvements.
Yeah. All right, let's talk about my Titans real quick.
Sure.
They have looked horrible the past 3 games. They are 1-3. You know, started out strong, a nice win at Kansas City. And boy, the Chiefs look good right now. They put a whooping on the New England Patriots on Monday Night Football.
Yeah, I mean but let me tell you, Kansas City at home on a Monday night, you can almost bet that Kansas City is going to win that game.
Because they hype. They were hype.
Yeah. Whenever you get Kansas City on a Monday night at home in that stadium, don't be trying to bet the house against them because I don't care what their record is. That team is just a heck of a lot better and they're a lot stronger. That especially that day, that particular night on a Monday night game, like they know the world is watching and they're on their P's and Q's in that game every time. And New England just got the business on that one.
The Titans are going to be back home, their second home game of the year. The Cleveland Browns, led by Brian Hoyer, they're only 1-2, but I've been saying, I'm repeating myself, but they're a better football team than their 1-2 record indicates. They've lost some really close games.
Yeah.
Brian Hoyer has done an outstanding job. They're going to get Jordan Cameron back. They will be a better football team with Jordan Cameron. Their defense, I thought their defense would play a lot better than what we've seen so far.
Well, I mean, with Cleveland, I mean, what I saw of them, it's a good team. I mean, they're definitely a lot better than, you know. And I think I was on your show and I said I thought Penn could possibly vie for Coach of the Year. He's a guy, you know, a lot of people don't think about. But I mean, I think he could put up a good year with this team. You know, given what they have, you know. But he's, you know, I don't know. It just against the Titans. I think I kind of, and you were talking to Titans at home. I think the Titans win this game.
Do you?
I do.
I picked the Browns to win.
Well, see, and the reason I think Titans, part of it is.
Hey, Brad.
But
hi.
Hey, how we doing, Brad? You know, like I said, part of it is because the Titans are home. Jake Locker's on watch.
Yeah.
Think about it. If Jake Locker has a bad game here, don't they go to their bye week the next week or something like that, or bye week coming up?
They've got their bye week is either week 8 or week 9 this year.
Okay, it's a couple weeks down. But if you think about it, okay, maybe it's not the bye.
They've got the Browns, and then they've got the Jaguars, and I think they've got an away game, and I think then their bye comes.
Well, I kind of think this game right here, this is a good chance that you know, because Menberger has been getting a little, you know, been talked about. You could see a switch. You could see a switch if Walker doesn't play well.
Judging by what, and Brad can come in here and talk a little bit about this, because he got to see a little bit of the Mets show, which wasn't much of a show, was it, Brad?
No, it was not.
All right,
but
Brad.
I mean, it was interesting.
We've been talking a little bit about the AFC South. Thanks again for joining me. Brad is a Colts guy, but he also taught, like my friend Greg, he is also a great football mind. So if you don't follow him on Twitter, definitely do that. Brad, just real quick, tell everybody where they can follow you on Twitter, and then we'll talk some AFC South.
Sure, they can follow me at BradWellsNFL on Twitter. Brad
is our friend up north. He's living in. Are you still living in Canada?
Yeah, I'm still here in Vancouver, and it's wonderful today. It's a little on the cold side, though.
It's going to be cooler here tonight. Your Colts put a butt whooping on my Tennessee Titans, Brad. It was painful, not unexpected. Give me your thoughts on the game.
Well, to go back to the point that was just made a second ago, and we talked about this, I think the last time I did any kind of show with you, where if the Titans have Jake Locker and he's healthy, they have a chance. If they don't have Jake Locker, they have no chance. They started Charlie Whitehurst, and they had no chance.
Well, that's Charlie.
It wasn't entirely. I'm going to have to defend Tablet Jesus just a little bit. It wasn't entirely his fault.
That's Charlie.
That is true.
We're talking Charlie Whitehurst.
We're talking Charlie Whitehurst. Look, Kendall Wright. Gravity caused Kendall Wright to fumble the football. He looked like Bambi trying to run on his legs, and he just took a tumble, and the ball goes popping out. Justin Hunter, their young second-year wide receiver, tips a pass. It gets intercepted. I mean, these things are not Charlie Whitehurst's fault.
That's the Whitehurst effect.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's legitimate. I do. I posed a question because on Twitter today because I was reading the line makers preview of the game, and they were talking about how having Jake Locker in the football game is like a 3 over the other quarterbacks is like a field goal differential. That's kind of an amazing stat.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. The only reason I say that I worry about that Locker has a bad game. If Cleveland comes out there and blows them out, you can't tell me that Wisenhunt is not going to think about making a switch. Consider it. He's got to be thinking about making a switch. I
think that it just depends.
I think he really wants to get his man out there.
I don't know. I think that it depends. We saw now in his to defend Zach Mettenberger a little bit. I think he played like 8 snaps. He completed 2 passes. Did not complete the rest of them. I think he handed the ball off 2 times. It was in mop-up duty.
Yeah, that's not a sample.
But there wasn't anything there to indicate that he could do anything. Whereas when you saw Jimmy Garoppolo go into the game with the New England Patriots offense, you saw a much different situation. I think people need to remember that Zach Mettenberger is not that far removed from his ACL. And the Titans offensive line, Brad got to see it. The Titans offensive line is really struggling, especially in pass protection. They're a lot better in run blocking than they are in pass protection. The only thing that's really saved the Titans quarterback position is both Jake Locker and Charlie Whitehurst are not afraid to pull the ball down and can run the ball. I think Charlie Whitehurst converted two first downs just through his legs alone in that game. So I'm legitimately concerned about Zach Mettenberger's health behind this offensive line.
Understandable. And maybe that's the one thing that may hesitate, that may cause Wizenhunt to hesitate putting him out there if he's not, worried about, if he's not confident in that offensive line. But
I think that you have to give, unless Jake Locker gets injured again, which is a strong, I mean, we know the history, it's a strong possibility, or if he really sucks it up a lot worse, or continues to really struggle, then at that point, but otherwise you've got to give him the year to really get a good evaluation on him.
Well, let's say it like this. I mean, you think about it like this. For one thing, they went into the year, they did not give him the extra year on his contract, so they didn't do that. Number two, they drafted a quarterback. So every coach gonna and Wizenhunt probably figuring he's gonna get at least 3 or 4 years of his own. So he's coming in with this. He's gonna want to get his own quarterback. Now the thing is, he already feels that Mettenberger is gonna be the guy that fits his system, or he probably never would have had him there.
Well, I thought Mettenberger is his quarterback.
Huh?
I thought Mettenberger is Wizenhunt's quarterback.
That's what I'm saying.
Why else did they draft him?
Well, exactly. That's what I'm saying.
I'm not convinced about that. I think that he's definitely a guy that fits Wizenhunt's system a lot better than Jake Locker, because he does like to air. I mean, it's in his DNA. He wants to air it out.
Exactly.
But the odds of a 6th-round quarterback turning out to be a franchise guy, and I understand that Mettenberger dropped for a lot of reasons that don't have anything. A lot of reasons,
right? Because
the numbers still speak for themselves, and it's an extreme long shot that he will turn into franchise quarterback material.
I tell you now, Mettenberger probably would at least, at worst, have been a 2nd or 3rd round quarterback. At least 2nd, I would think. If he had finished his year at LSU, because you got to think about it, under Cam Cameron, that dude completely flipped when Cam Cameron came out there. Basically, who was mainly a pro football coach, and when he came out there, he pretty much transformed Mettenberger. And Mettenberger showed, I mean, he basically improved immensely. So like I said, I wouldn't look at it as a 6th-round pick here. This is a guy that's kind of a little of a side on that one, because we're not talking about a guy who would have had an iffy year. He was just injured. He was injured for like half the season. So it was
very significant injury.
Yeah, it was a very significant injury. So that was a great way to pick him up bargain basement cheap at 6th round, because a lot of teams are going to be very wary about drafting him right away. And number two, they can bring him along slower. They don't have to put him out first day. But I think he would have been. I don't know if he would have been 1st round, but I think he would have been that 2nd or 3rd round quarterback. I mean, so I'm thinking Wizenhunt thinking of him as a lot higher than what you're saying.
Can I ask a quick question, Sharona? Because this was something I was thinking about prior last week.
You're cutting
at
out
home to
just a little bit on me,
Charlie.
Brad.
I'm sorry. The Colts aren't going to lose at home to Charlie Whitehurst.
Oh,
So
yeah.
why? Yeah. So I mean, that's just not going to happen. I mean, it
No.
would take like a colossal screw up, a colossal mistake, in order for that to happen.
Yes.
So why
Well-
not start Mettenberger? Because at the very least, there's a chance.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's one thing. I think that Ken Wisenhunt has a lot of confidence in Charlie Whitehurst. Charlie Whitehurst is his guy.
Do something.
They had Ryan Fitzpatrick as their backup quarterback. Greg and I talked about this before. Ryan Fitzpatrick in Houston is 3-1. They lead the division right now. They sit atop of the division right now.
Yeah.
Ken Wisenhunt likes Charlie Whitehurst. I think that if the entire team had played well, they would have had a chance. Would they have won the game? Probably not, but I think that it would have been a lot more competitive football game. There wasn't just one tip pass. I think Kendall Wright not only fumbled, but he also tipped a pass for a second interception. So
yes,
there were so many mistakes being made in that football game that it wasn't Charlie Whitehurst. I think the thing about Zach Mettenberger, too, to remember is that he's been on the scout team. He hasn't been taking reps in practice. He has not been working with the frontline receivers. He's been doing what third-string quarterbacks do. Are they working him in? Is he getting, some?
It'll be after practice.
Yeah, is he getting some of those looks now? Haven't heard anything about that.
That don't mean because you ain't heard it. Don't mean it ain't happening.
That's what I was intimidating.
I don't.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I mean, I don't know whether they have that thought process to do that. I think that you might see that more likely later on in the year. At this point in time, they want to try to win football games. They've got confidence in the guys that they have picked. I'm not saying that I agree. I'm just saying this is what I think the thought process is, because Ken Wisenhunt likes Charlie Whitehurst. There's absolutely no question about that. They released Ryan Fitzpatrick and went out and got him. And so, will we see Zach Mettenberger at some point this year? I think far more likely maybe after the bye than before the bye. If they want to make that change, they've got to bye week to get him worked in, to get him some good some good looks, some good practice time with the guys that he's going to be playing with. I don't think that they're through making other changes either, Brad. As you know, the secondary is really struggling right now. Bleedy Ray Wilson, poor guy. You guys picked on him as well. You should, because he's not playing very well. He's got a concussion now, so they're going to make some other changes too. But what was the thing, Brad? What was the thing that stood out the most to you? I know the Charlie Whitehurst thing. What else stood out for you about the Titans' offense?
Well, I actually will switch something here real quick. I think the thing that stood out to me most was the Titans' run defense.
Okay.
I thought they actually did a very good job containing the Colts' rushing attack. The Colts really wanted to run the football, and the Titans, and I think it was Jarrell Casey, I don't if I can recall, but I mean the defensive line for the Titans was very effective. On offense, I mean, the thing that stood out for me was just how bad White played.
Yeah.
The fumble at the beginning of the game, and Charlie Whitehurst and Jake Locker. The game's 14-0 really before Whitehurst can do anything.
Mm-hmm.
And where I think Locker obviously has an advantage over Whitehurst is that, okay, you're down 14-0 and you haven't really done anything. Your wide receivers fumbled and the Colts did an onside kick. A play that I nearly fell out of.
Cruel.
I fell out of my chair
on.
I fell out because Chuck Pagano just doesn't do that. Chuck Pagano, I'm like, what? It was one of those things. Like you're sitting and watching the game and you're kind of, well, what? What?
I was like, are you kidding me?
That's not good.
And our special,
it was really
our special teams are so special.
I've been there. I mean, the Colts special teams for years are bad.
I know it is. I know how that is too.
Yeah.
So those are the things that
we got started a little bit late. We're going to go just a few more minutes. I know Greg's got to get out of here in a minute, but I want to ask you, Brad. We were talking about the AFC South. The Houston Texans, a surprise, 3-1. The Colts right behind at 2-2. The Titans are who they are. The Jags 0-4. Is the division worse this year than it was last year?
Is it worse this year?
I think it is because the Colts aren't as good.
I think you're right to a certain extent. Yeah, I think I was actually thinking about this earlier today. I think it is. I think it is worse this year because I expected the Jaguars to be better.
Yeah.
And they're worse. They're awful. I expected Tennessee to be better, and Tennessee's not. I don't think they're
worse this year than they were last year.
I agree. And we talked about this, with the offensive line. I mean, with the coach now gone, he was a fantastic offensive line coach. In addition to being the head coach, now he's doing a wonderful job in Pittsburgh. Their offensive line has finally started to play well. So, I think that's accurate. I think Houston playing above expectations, I think, is a little bit of a red herring. I think they're a paper tiger.
But now
their defense, their defense is that good, which I'm kind of shocked by. Outside of J.J. Watt, there really isn't a whole heck of a lot to that defense.
Yeah. Do you think Brian Cushing is almost done?
I think he is done, and I think part of the reason he's done has been this new PEDS policy. I mean, I think that he's laid off. Yeah, I think he's laid off the stuff that he was always known for supposedly taking, and it's brought his and the injuries I mean, let's be fair to him.
It all starts to add up.
He had two.
You're right. Yeah, because that's right. He had what?
At the end of the day,
in 2 years, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was on injured reserve 2 years in a row.
Right, 2 years in a row. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
broken arm, and I don't know what the other one is.
So do you think that the Colts, do you think that the Texans are going to be able to hang on and take the division?
No.
No, I think the division belongs to Indianapolis. I mean,
Andrew
Luck is playing too well.
I still think the Colts, because it's pretty much, I mean, with that team, it all drives behind Andrew Luck. I mean, he's clearly the best quarterback in that division, and the thing about it is that, you probably could put Luck on any one of those teams, any one of those 4 teams, and that team probably is going to be a division favorite, in all honesty. You know what I mean? So, I mean, that's kind of...
Maybe not the Jaguars.
Probably not the Jaguars, but they'd be hell of a lot competitive.
They would be better.
They definitely would be.
What about the Ravens? Brad, are the Colts going to be able to beat the Ravens?
That's a really good question. I think this is a really big sort of swing game for Indianapolis. They did not play particularly great versus 2 really good teams to start the season, and then they blasted these 2 teams kind of in the middle. So it'll be interesting to see how they play against Baltimore. They are at home. If they beat Baltimore, I think you can say, okay, the Colts look like a legitimate playoff team. If they lose to Baltimore, the Colts look like a playoff team solely because of the fact they play in the AFC South.
Yeah, who they're playing
I completely agree with that.
Yeah, I agree with you there because, I mean, like I said, I think being at home is going to keep them in the game. I think it's going to be a close game. I kind of give the edge to the Ravens because they're real on a hot streak.
I agree.
And it has some really, really good wins. And, I mean, Steve Smith is playing out of his mind right about now.
It really is.
He's playing out of his mind. He's a man amongst boys. I can't even argue about that.
The plays that he made against his former team, though, they were so fluky. Especially the one.
The flip in the air.
It was crazy.
I know. Like, that was just his day.
It was.
Like you said,
Well, you know
what's
what?
everywhere.
I'm happy for Steve Smith having his day against his former
Absolutely.
team. So,
I
give me a
agree.
prediction,
Yeah.
Brad. Give me a prediction for the Ravens game.
Ooh, I'm going to say 26-23 Colts.
Okay.
But I wouldn't be surprised if the score is. And before I ask you a quick question, or both of you a quick question, because this has been kind of gnawing at me these last 4 weeks. Does it just kind of suck that this division is so bad this year? It seems that way for me because even though a bad division makes it easier for your favorite team, unless your team is really bad, to win that division, the fact that it's so bad it seems to depress me.
It just robs it of. There's no excitement whatsoever about the AFC South.
Well, hold on. You got to remember now. Think about it. There are a couple other divisions. Of course, the NFC South is very down this year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but they've got better teams in the AFC
They do.
South.
They do.
Even, and the AFC East is actually pretty pitiful too.
But they're still a better division.
They are. They are.
The East,
and they've got the Jets, and the Jets are always entertaining.
Yeah.
You got the Bills, you got Miami, and then you got New England in that division, in the AFC East, and they're pretty pitiful. Because
hey, listen,
you got.
If the season ended right now, the Buffalo Bills would be in the AFC wildcard game playing the Baltimore Ravens. How amazing is that?
It is.
Yeah. And they just benched their quarterback.
I know, which is crazy.
I know. So, and that tells you a lot right there about the whole division.
Yeah.
That the team that changed their quarterback would actually make the playoffs.
The Jets may not be far behind. How long? How long does Geno Smith have to prove before they turn to Michael Vick and try to take that division?
He's got halftime the next game. He's got about halftime the next game. Because I got a feeling if he goes out there and he stinks it up, he throw 1 or 2 interceptions in that game. Don't tell me. I would be absolutely shocked if Michael Vick is not out there playing right after that. Because it's Huh?
It does sound like they get Eric Decker back. That's going to help. You know, it's not all Geno Smith's fault, and Geno Smith has committed mistakes in his own, no question. But what is he surrounded by?
He's got junk. Don't get me wrong. He's got junk. I wouldn't want to be trying to throw to any of those guys. Maybe Eric Decker out of the bunch. The rest of them, I wouldn't be trying to throw. I wouldn't trust them with a 10-foot.
Not like Jeremy Curley though.
He all right.
Can I make one point about the Jets? I want to make one point about the Jets.
Yeah.
Their offensive line is extremely good. Their running game is extremely good, and their defense is extremely good. So Geno Smith's actually got quite a lot around him. All he has to do is not turn the football over, all he's done this year is turn the football over.
Yeah.
So now the thing with Geno is that he's starting to lose his cool. He's cursing out fans at the game. He's getting fined for it.
Yeah.
I met Geno Smith pre-draft before he was drafted in 2013, and the first thing that I thought of when I met this guy, nice guy, but very defensive when asked pretty,
basic questions.
Basic questions. I'm like, this guy's not going to last in New York. He'll last maybe a year, and we're kind of at that point now.
Yeah.
Now the media is going to gang up on poorly at halftime. They're going to sit him, I think.
Yeah. I agree.
You have to be closer to like Eli, where you just don't give a damn. You know what I mean? You answer the question, you move on.
Mark Sanchez was the same way. I mean,
True.
In New York, which wasn't that great. New York media.
Yeah, I mean, because the New York media is brutal. I mean, you go up there, you got to be the personality of the player or that quarterback has to be. He just has to be very cool and calm.
You've got to have thick skin. Well, you've got to have thick skin.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
In anything really, and I agree with you, Brad. When he came out after the draft and fired his agent.
Yeah. I remember that.
I was like, this guy. There's something going on here. Because there had been some rumors and stuff about him. In the draft process. I mean. He lasted to the only first round quarterback was E.J. Manuel, who just got sacked.
Yeah, I mean, well, because I didn't buy him or E.J. Manuel myself personally because I think they both were, like you said, pretty nice guys. They're decent guys, and they're okay. But they were. I thought they was first round pick for EJ Manuel was extremely too high. I knew that.
Agreed.
And the same thing with Geno. I think he was what second round.
He was in the
pick.
second round.
I thought that was
High second round, yeah.
That was too high for him. Because, I mean, you're looking at a guy who had 3 or 4 good games early in his last year of his college career, and then he disappeared.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't even know who he was. You know,
Yeah.
barely. You know, you didn't hear his name. He had a couple of big games, and then he was done. And that rings too much of a bell for me. That just tells me that that's probably not the guy I want to be trying to pick.
You know, the Bills are in an interesting spot. They drafted E.J. Manuel with their first-round pick last year.
Mm-hmm.
Gave up a poop ton of picks to get Sammy Watkins. They don't have a first-round draft pick next year. If E.J. Manuel's not the guy, they're in some deep doo-doo.
Not necessarily.
Oh, come on. Kyle Orton's awesome.
Huh?
Yeah. Championship.
Kyle Orton, woo! You know, I mean, I also have to factor in that the Bills are going to be sold soon or have been sold. I can't remember what it is off the top of my head. So they've been sold.
They've been sold.
That means that everybody who's in charge of the Bills right now, more likely than not, all these people are going to get fired and replaced with new people.
Yeah, they're gonna be, right.
You're going to be back to square one. They're going to be back to square one within a year anyway.
Yeah, I mean, which means Marone may not stay there either. The head coach may be gone very soon, and the GM and all those guys. So that definitely spells house cleaning. You know,
it does. I don't know that it's a recipe for success, but maybe if they, jump start and start all over, they'll have a lot more success.
I think what it was, $1.4 billion or something for that team, something like that they paid for it.
Yeah, and it's very common when new ownership steps in that the deck gets wiped.
Well, they'll want to bring their own guys in, their own staff.
I was going to say, if I pay $1.4 billion, nobody stays in there that wasn't with me when I walked in.
Or that you don't have the utmost confidence in. I mean, there are some guys that you could have, and I'm just saying in general, you can walk into a situation and be like, oh, I want to keep this guy, and who knows what their evaluation process is right now. But
if the operation was running well, if they were winning games and they had been, playoff seasons and championship seasons, I probably won't upset the apple cart nearly as much. But the fact that they haven't seen the playoffs since Jesus was a cowboy. I think I want to get.
Well, it was 2002.
Yeah.
And the Music City Miracle.
Yeah, 12 years. 12 years. Yeah, somebody got to get canned out of there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So folks got
the Music City Miracle. That was 1999.
Was it?
2001. I mean,
2001.
2000. Yeah. Yeah, you're right. It was 2000. It was the
99 season, but the 2000 playoffs were in 2000.
Yeah, so 14 years still.
Bob Johnson was their quarterback.
Yes. Yeah. So yeah.
I was thinking about the Ravens 2002.
Yeah. Well, either way, still, I mean, I just look like if I own that team, very. The chance of me keeping anybody there probably none. To be honest with you, I hate to say that, but I mean, I would think I would want a clean house because of just the history. I like
their GM. I like their GM, but that was kind of head scratching to give up so much for Sammy Watkins. So
yeah, I agree. I do like him, but I think if I paid for the team, I wouldn't keep him. I want somebody. I want somebody of my own. Yeah. I just want somebody that I hired and because I know that right then and there we're going to be in lockstep of how we want this philosophy, or else, just because I don't want a guy who did things the old way.
I believe it was January 8th, 2000 or something like that. I was at that game, Brad.
You were there? Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, God. I hated that Titans team. I hated them just because they just always seemed to find ways to win games.
They really did.
They
had a lot of luck that year.
Yeah, that was Speaking of Jeff Fisher, did you guys see the rumor that was out today that they're going to potentially announce the St. Louis Rams moving to Los Angeles after the Super Bowl?
I'm not.
I've seen that rumor. I don't put any faith whatsoever in that rumor. Somebody wants something.
I think it would be
no,
great if it were true, and the
I would
Rams
love
actually
the Rams
make
back in
the
Los
Super Bowl.
Angeles. I would love to see.
What was that, Brad?
So I think it would be great if the rumor were true, and then the Rams actually make the Super Bowl. So the Rams make the Super Bowl, and then they have to announce that the Rams are going to be moving.
Wow, yeah, that would be Yeah.
That would be, yeah.
I would enjoy that.
You know what, though, Brad? This year's St. Louis Rams team is not making the Super Bowl.
No,
but Austin Davis has really been a big surprise.
It's not been bad. Yeah,
well,
he hasn't been
I
bad.
saw him in college with Southern Miss. Don't get me wrong. And he was decent. He was actually pretty decent. I liked him, and he actually did very well with that team. But I wasn't expecting him to do as well as he done here with the pros. I'll admit that. So, because I didn't think it would do as well, but he's actually done pretty good.
He has.
Brett Favre loves him.
I picked him up. I've got him stashed as a bye-week replacement in one of my leagues.
I did the same thing too. I stashed him as well.
Yeah. Because the other pickings out there are bad. So
Tom Brady was my other quarterback, and I dumped him.
Listen, preach, Brad. In my dynasty league, I've got Tom Brady, Jake Locker, and Jimmy Garoppolo.
Wow.
I have, in my keeper league, which I've been in for about 12 years now, it's Nick Foles and Tom Brady, and Foles has been killing me. So I'm sticking with Foles because I kept him.
Yeah.
But Brady is worthless. He's totally worthless right now, so I had to dump him and I picked up Austin.
Yeah, I had thought about floating a trade, but I was like, I have not made a move yet. So I've also got Colin Kaepernick in another league. I'm thinking about making a move there, so we'll see.
Yeah.
All right, well, guys, thanks again for joining us, for joining me tonight. I want to let you guys come in and tell everybody where to find you again, and then I'll take us out. Brad, I'll start with you.
Sure, I'll apologize for being late to both of you. I apologize profusely.
No problem.
I am
No problem at all.
I am at Brad Wells NFL, and you can also find my stuff at Full Impact Football. You can find it on the web.
Oh, congratulations! I'm so happy to know that you're going to be writing again.
Well, I'm doing editing right now, and I'm mentoring younger writers. So I might do some writing, but it's mostly editing right now, and making sure some of these younger guys can get some feedback. Hopefully some gals too, because there's so many. You know what I mean? Like, just trying to. Steve Gallo, who works for USA Today, he started this, and it's a program to help encourage younger writers. So he was kind enough to ask me to be a part of that, and it's actually been a lot of fun.
Well, cool. Greg, tell everybody where they can find you.
Basically, find me at IntenseGB on Twitter, and like I said, I'll be actually starting with Heavy.com, writing there, covering the NFC South. So definitely to be keep watch of some of the articles and also some of the real-time updates of some of the games.
Well, congrats to you two on your new gig. I'm Sharona. You can follow me on Twitter at Sports by Sharona. This is The Extra Point. We come to you live every Friday night, 6 p.m. Central Standard Time, talking AFC South, NFC South. Have a pleasant evening. We'll be back next week with another show, so stay tuned in. Happy football, and have a great weekend, everyone.